Welcome to the Turning Lemons into Lemonade podcast. Each week, your host, Amy Mewborn, business strategist and advisor, will bring you the stories of how successful women entrepreneurs turn their tragedies into triumphs to create the businesses that are changing the world today. And now, your host, Amy Mewborn.
Kisma Orbovich is often referred to as the prosperity coach. She helps mission-based entrepreneurs awaken their inner wealth intelligence and magnetize their money. Kisma is a level 3 certified coach through the U Institute and energy mastery practitioner and trainer. She lives in Carlsbad, California and New York City, and you can find her weekly on the Illumination podcast with Nick and Kisma, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success. She's been published in Entrepreneur.com, Thrive Global, and featured in Well and Good. Welcome, Kisma. I cannot tell you how excited I am to chat with you today. Thank you so much for your time. I would love to have you start today by telling us how you got started in your business.
Oh, thanks for having me, Amy. I'm so excited to be here. You know, it's an interesting question because when you ask me, how did I get started in my business, I immediately go to what business? Because I've actually been an entrepreneur since I was probably 13 years old. I used to teach music lessons. But the business I have now was really birthed from my yoga studio. I had a yoga studio after I stopped being a musician, and I actually opened that studio, I think, to escape from life. Like I had this vision of beaded curtains and me just hiding behind there and checking out. And then I realized that all these amazing people and souls would show up to the studio, and I would say, "How are you?" And there would be this flood of what was going on in their lives. And it really took me aback to realize everybody was going through something. And what could I do to help them aside from a physical yoga practice? And so the coaching was really birthed there. We started doing study groups, started meeting with people. When I moved to California and sold the studio, that's when I began to build my active coaching and training company that I have now, Illumination Academy.
So you just described, I think, one of the very interesting things about owning a studio, because so often in society today, you ask someone, how are you? And they're like, I'm great, or everything's fine, or whatever. And when you're in a business like fitness, where you're seeing these same people day in and day out, they really trust you. And so they tell you the real stuff.
Exactly.
And I love that you realized that so many people needed an outlet well beyond, I'm good, everything's fine.
Yeah, for sure. And just being able to receive that without judging, or even at that time, trying to fix it, just letting them share that and then putting them in an amazing yoga practice and then having chats later was, I think it was life-changing for everyone.
Yeah. I've had times in my life where I've actually gone to like a counselor, and I have found that for me, when I'm really stressed out, it manifests itself as me being very short and like snapping at my husband. I'm not one that gets hugely depressed, but I get really angry really quickly. And so it's amazing that there are ways that people can go and get support without having to go to a therapist, to a psychiatrist, or whatever. And I have no problem.
They play an amazing role in society. And then there are other ways to get support too, like through yoga, through meditation, through coaching. As you know, it's super important, I think.
So tell me, how do you help these people that come to you? How do you work with them? And what's really like your secret sauce in helping these people kind of transform their life?
It's such a great question. I have so many of my clients send people to me and they'll say, we don't really know what she does, but you just got to go because she's going to fix whatever's going on. And so I often just say, I'm like the secret weapon. I'm the fixer. I have a code physically, metaphysically, energetically that I use to basically help people to change perception up here in their thoughts and to solve what I refer to as congested energy. Because mindset really is everything, right? If we change our thoughts, we change our perception, and then we change the experiences we're in. However, what I've seen is that without solving and resolving the energy that shows up as limiting beliefs, as blocks, the mindset shift is not sustainable. So I approach it like, here's the iceberg, right? The tip of the iceberg is mindset. We tackle that. Underneath, where the iceberg is going way deep in the water, is the energy. Above is the intuition. So basically, I think what is really different about me is I use all of it into this convergence point to really help someone reach their full potential and to create prosperity. Because prosperity is, it's all of ours by divine right. And I feel like it's an amazing thing that we want to really bring into our businesses, in our lives.
I love that. This year, I actually went to the Landmark Forum with one of my girlfriends,
Mm-hmm.
and I did it because I had kind of hit a point in my life where everything was going well, but nothing was going phenomenally.
Yeah.
And you kind of get into this place where you just feel stuck or stagnant,
Right.
and
The
like you just
plateau.
described.
Mm-hmm.
And it was unbelievable for me to realize how some things that I started as habits from a very, very young age, and I had allowed it to perpetuate all of these things that I'm doing at 42 years old still.
Right.
And it's so helpful to have someone else mirror that back to you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I call this the need to be right. And most humans have a need to be right, that the stories they've been taught, lived with, etc., they have to hold on to, because there's a sense of security that comes with it. Breaking through that next level can be scary for some people, yet it's what we're supposed to do. We have a soul's mission. Our soul is going to attain the mission. It really depends on the conditioned human personality as to how fast. So we have to understand we'll come around this planet many times to realize that soul mission. But why not do it sooner? Why not remove the stories and the beliefs and start every day super clean and clear? And I just really love working with the universal laws, understanding the law of supply, the law of non-resistance, the law of compensation and receptivity. Working with the laws means that we get to elevate way faster and manifest way faster too.
So I think that what you've just described is something that just about every woman, and especially every woman business owner,
Mm.
needs, whether they know it or not yet, because most of us are really, we deal with imposter syndrome. And I hear this from almost every client that I work with. They're like, well, who am I to go out and do this, or to go teach people, or whatever? So you've
Mm.
just described kind of, I think, one of the conditions of us, especially as women, but as women business owners in particular. So tell me, I normally don't use the podcast as kind of like a pitch for your
Mm-hmm.
programs or whatever, but I want you to actually tell
Mm-hmm.
us a little bit about your programs and what you offer.
Oh, sure. I love it because there's always a teaching and being able to describe, So the prosperity code is about awakening this inner wealth intelligence. And I share it because we all have it. One of the greatest teachers that I've come across, Catherine Ponder, says it's shockingly right to be prosperous. And through many spiritual communities, yoga community, even with women who were taught to, there's an essence of struggle, there's an essence of we got to work super hard to get what some men are getting. No, it is shockingly right to be prosperous. We are created to work with the laws and have this supply come in. And what I find so fascinating is that the universal laws will always be. We don't change the law, we work with it. And when we understand there's like this mathematical equation, if we think it, we can create it. Do we have to take action? Yes. Do we need to get clear? Yes. Will it show up exactly as we want? Maybe, maybe not. And so I love this aspect of drawing out of people their inner wealth intelligence and then really magnetizing their money. Because once they're clear of limiting beliefs, why wouldn't we go that next step? Why wouldn't we hold an event or be more receptive to more clients or start another business? Like the sky is the limit. It truly is.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So tell me about one of the biggest struggles or the biggest challenges you've had in growing your business.
Mm. I would have to say it was a really difficult time when I was working with a mentor that I learned so much from. And for lack of a better description, he broke, he split. And it was so devastating to be in a trusted coaching relationship and then to see this person begin to really go sideways, to take money from people, to not deliver what he said. It was so soul crushing, yet there was an amazing gift in it. And that was stay focused, keep doing what you're doing. You actually don't need someone else to be you, so it was like pedal to the metal. I had to really go. And I do believe that in the most difficult situations, there's a lesson, there's a golden gem that we can pull from. We just have to be willing to see it.
I so agree with that. And I can tell you that I would guess that at least 50% of our listeners would agree that they've signed up for a coaching program or they've done something that they think maybe didn't turn out exactly like they anticipated it would.
Yeah.
And that's a very common struggle.
It
And
is.
we either have the option of being a victim or we have the option of taking from it whatever we can and
Exactly.
using that to fuel us forward.
Absolutely. If it's a program or something that I'm like, I'm not sure this is working, I'm always about that extreme ownership. Okay, where in me am I not taking the action, showing up like I need to, or even asking for what I need? So I think that is something we can all do in any program, any coaching relationship. This one was just so upside down. It was like the worst nightmare ever. And there's no point in sharing too many descriptions, but I think that when we go through, especially women, when we go through a time where we might have been gaslighted, where we really think someone's telling us the truth and they're not, it's about shaking it off, rebooting, realigning, and creating our own reality because we have the power to do that.
So how have you gone about growing your business?
I would say honestly, it sounds a little cheesy. I use the universal laws. Yes, I do a lot of marketing on Facebook when I have time. I am super receptive. So if someone shows up, I generally find a way to help them. I'm always saying yes. And I get some flack for this because they're like, you're so busy. But you know what? There are a lot of people that need support and help in the way that I do it. So if they can show up and they find a way into one of the programs, I love helping them. And I think that receptivity and that question to who can I help allows the business to grow way faster than, okay, I want to make this amount of money. Like I'm a big fan of metrics and money because our external is a representation of what's going on internal. So money is a great metric, but when it's only about money, we get really sticky. We get really stuck. When it's about who can I help? And yes, I have this ideal, of income, things flow way easier. It's pretty magical, actually, when we shift into that gear.
I think actually what you just said in terms of who can I help versus what do I offer is like a complete difference in how someone can build their business, because so often people go and create all these offerings and they don't even know if anyone needs it or wants it yet.
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean, you've almost like reverse engineered a business based on what people have asked you for, it sounds like.
Well, and absolutely, they'll show up. I'll say, "What's going on? What do you want?" Okay, let's go. There's a way to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And also, just from like the energetic perspective, when we toss out there, who can I help? Someone hears us. Somewhere we've opened up this energetic channel for another human soul to show up, to find us. When we're really in this need to be right, it's got to go this way, and or the fear of no one's going to want my stuff, everything gets closed up. And so as our field is more sparkly, as the frequency is higher, we attract those higher frequency people, places, times, and events. And that's why I'm such a strong believer in the energetics and the spirituality and working with the law, because everything vibrates higher.
Mm-hmm. So we have a mutual friend that as you're speaking, I'm thinking so clearly of her, Jade Duggan.
Oh, I love Jade. She's so cool.
And I think back to a day where she and we just had an appointment scheduled to just kind of connect and chat. And I had been dealing with a frustration with our movers. From when we moved here, they took a bunch of our stuff, and long story, but it really was funny how she said just a few words and it immediately changed my entire thought on it. And I was describing to her how I had picked up the phone and had basically reamed someone for a very extended period of time. And she says to me, okay, so you took your bad day and then you picked up the phone and you gave someone else a bad day. And then they're going to go home and give their spouse a bad day, and all of this stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I never in a million years would have thought about it that way.
Right.
And my husband is totally like you get more flies with honey than vinegar, but I'm the person that wants to pull out the big gun. And so it really has helped me think about how I interact with people before I pick up the phone or when I say something. And again, I told you that when I get stressed out, I get a little snappy. And it's just that perpetual reminding me of the energy I'm putting out.
Absolutely.
And the fact that that flows well beyond everything that I'm doing or the people that I'm interacting with at that given moment.
I love that. And not only that, it comes back in some way, shape, or form. It comes back around because what we put out, we get back. It's that law of reciprocity. And, it's not about everything's happy and like we have to be firm. Women that are building businesses, we need to be firm. We need to be strong and professional. Yet it's that essence that we give out that we want to get back. So that's a great reframe. You just gave someone your bad day.
Yeah. It was amazing. And as she said it, I'm like, oh man,
I know.
when I think about some poor mom going home and yelling at her child because I had just unloaded my crap on them, it was awful.
Great little lesson there. It's really good.
So what number one resource have you had in your business, whether it be a coaching program, a favorite book, maybe a live event, or something that you feel like has just really helped you be the best person you are?
You mean somebody else's resource or something from my business?
I'm looking for something that has helped you build your business, so probably from someone else.
I would say, there's been so much. I mean, I've just been so grateful to have some amazing mentors. But there's a book that is called Working with the Law.
Okay.
And it's by Raymond Hollywell. It's an old book. It's written in a little bit heavy English. I like that because it makes me stop and read one paragraph at a time. And, I read it a few years ago. I was like, oh, it's the coolest thing. And then I kind of put it aside and then I pulled it back out and went deeper in it. And it is like that mathematical equation for success. So when I take the teachings from that and formulate it, it's so easy for me to coach people or to create like the prosperity code, to constantly use it in my own being, to always check myself, when am I in doubt? When am I in the need to be right? When am I not receptive? Because I'm such a fan of just that accountability in our own lives, because what's going on inside, as I mentioned, is just like there's a mirror in our external world. So I would have to say that's one of my all-time favorite books that I'm always picking up. Another one is The Game of Life by Florence Scovel Shinn.
Okay.
And this is great for our business owners who are women, because Florence lived back, I would say, in the 1920s and 30s, and she became this spiritual, kind of new age metaphysical Christian teacher. But I have clients who are Muslim, Jewish, Hindi, they read it and they're like, we get the teachings. So I always say to people, whether you're Christian or not, just take the teachings. And she was an artist, and she had a way of really delivering how to live life, like how to win this game, which is really so precious. And they're simple teachings, yet incredibly profound. So I have to say that's another book I'm always like cracking open and just reading a little bit to get those teachings and that energy.
I will love that one. And I can tell you, I will absolutely be ordering that one from Amazon
It's
and having
so
it
good.
delivered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Florence Scovel Shinn. She's got The Game of Life and how to play it. And then she has her complete works. And I recommend getting the complete works.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I will be reading that one.
Yeah. So good. You'll love it.
So what one piece of advice would you give to a woman business owner who wanted to take their business or their life to the next level?
Another great question, Amy. I would say to get radically honest with herself, the biggest fear she has about success. Because there is this piece, and I find it especially in women, that when they're successful, there's a certain fear of, well, what am I going to lose? Who am I going to lose? Am I going to have enough time? Am I going to have enough energy? Like all these things that kind of ping at us anyways. The idea of being very successful, somehow those percolate and amplify. So to examine each one and whatever process that one uses, I've different processes I use, is just to eliminate it, to prove it wrong, to be willing to basically drop into your divine success track, which is do what you do best and let everyone show up in a good way, but to not fear that people are going to fall by the wayside or judge you, or because if you're in what you do, you're going to have the energy, you're going to have the resources, help is going to come. It's when we try and get out of doing what we're here to do that we get really tired, that we create our own energy drain.
That is so unbelievably profound in terms of all of the things that we're probably putting in our own way.
Yes.
To keep us from being successful. Tell me, how often do you have women come to you who say that they feel guilty about the prospect of being successful?
Yeah, the guilt shows up kind of in a subtle way. I think because we're hearing more and more as women, it's like, no, you shouldn't feel guilty. They'll find other things that they'll say. Oh, well, it's not going to work, or, oh, it's too hard, or no one wants my stuff. And then it's going underneath it and getting to the real thing. That's when they'll be like, oh my gosh, I feel guilty. And then they realize, why should I feel guilty? Like, I have a responsibility to get this out there, to make an impact on the planet. And I really do think, Amy, there's a phenomenon right now of women rising as entrepreneurs in the business world, in prosperity, making more money than ever. And so I just want to encourage people, be a part of that wave, because it is a big wave and it's going to go for a very, very long time. So don't fight it. Like, be willing to be a part of it.
I think so much of that is about getting community, because if we look at, we know each other through some coaching programs, and I can tell you that when I look, there's kind of this group of uber successful men that have helped each other grow
Yes.
by sharing resources, sharing lists, being
Right.
affiliates, promoting each other, bringing each other in to speak. And as women, we haven't really had or even created for ourselves those
Right.
same resources. And as you see, a
Yeah.
rising tide lifts all boats. We need to be more, I think, diligent
Mm.
about grabbing people around the shoulders and being like, okay, let's go do this together
Yeah. That
instead of
is
trying.
so great. And it's so with the laws, right? If I share this with my students, if you see someone having success, avoid the jealousy. Understand that if they have success, you can have success. It is unlimited. The supply is unlimited. And I think I love what you're speaking. It's like women can begin to do what men have been doing for each other and sort of, the boys club for a long
Mhm,
time,
mhm.
and know that there's so much more and enough for everyone. So that's a great vision. I think we should work on that.
Awesome. Well, we'll do that.
Okay.
So tell me, what are you working on in your business or your life that you're super excited about right now that you want to brag on?
Well, it would really be the prosperity code. It's my 90-day, it's an advanced training for people who are really wanting to understand the universal laws, understand how to create their prosperity. So I run that in 90-day groups, and it involves some one-on-one and some group coaching. The other thing I have that's kind of like my baby is called the meditation pod. It's this pod of 5 meditations for purpose.
Hmm.
So one is like for brain clarity, one is for abundance, one is for healing, forgiveness. And I've had it out there for a couple of months, and it's designed with a certain energy and frequency to help people sit through a guided meditation that's not long and receive the clearing necessary to create what it is they want, whether it's that brain clarity, whether it is forgiveness, etc. So from the two ends, the very high end to kind of the baby thing that's out there for the $27, I love them both equally.
I love that. I will tell you that I implemented meditation this year with Emily Fletcher and
Oh, yeah.
Ziva meditation.
Yeah,
And I will tell you that I've struggled personally with getting it in twice a day.
for
The
sure.
afternoon, I never, ever, ever seem to do it well or consistently.
Yeah.
And then I also struggle with that like 20 minutes. And for me, 20 minutes of quiet is a lot of quiet.
Here's what's interesting. I come from a little bit different view of meditation. Meditation isn't a practice, it's an arrival.
Uh-huh.
Most minds, especially like you're super brilliant. Your mind is very active.
Mhm.
To sit and try and find quiet is almost going to create more frustration.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
challenging.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm like, short, listen to my voice, do this, you're good to go. Like chop, chop once a day. It's really good because the energy lasts for the day. The shift in the energy lasts for the day. And then there are some people that meditating twice a day for 20 minutes is like their go-to, and that's
Yeah.
awesome, but it's not for everyone.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I will tell you that one of the things I'm going to be asking you for is we're going to make sure we have links for both of those in the
Oh,
show notes because I'm
for
actually going to be
sure.
checking out.
I think you'll like it. It's great. Yeah. Yeah. The meditation pod, my website's kismaawake.com, and it's / meditation hyphen pod, but I'll get the link to you. It's fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you. The next question I was going to ask you was where we can find these resources so you
Mhm.
would put them in audio. So you just did. So go
Absolutely.
ahead and repeat for me your website main
Mhm.
address.
Yeah, it's Kisma Awake, so KISMAAWAKE.com. You can find our podcast there, Illumination Podcast. Another free thing is called Mantra Snacks, 9 audio trainings, and of course the meditation pod and some other things.
So before I let you go, I want you to tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Oh, thank you. Illumination Podcast. It's with my partner, Nick. And most of the time, he and I get on and we bring what we call ancient wisdom for modern day success. And we just did a whole series on the universal laws. And we pull a lot from our Vedanta background, which is a philosophy that I go to India to study. And it's found in iTunes, Stitcher, all the podcast places we can find it. And we do have a good time. It's really fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your
Thank
wisdom.
you.
I so adore you and really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
In today's episode, we talked about masterminds and mentors. So if you would like our free checklist on questions to ask before joining a mastermind, please go to the show notes at lemonadepodcast.com.
Thank you for listening to Turning Lemons into Lemonade, where women go for support and encouragement to hear how other women business owners turn their setbacks into successes to create 6- and 7-figure businesses. We look forward to seeing you next week.